Unfortunately, we are not allowed to talk about new theories surrounding the sinking of the Titanic. The official version must remain the only valid version no matter what new theories may bring to this tragedy. Well, I'm going to dare to share my theory with you. Read this well, theory. I'm not saying that I was there and that I know the absolute truth, like some who will listen to this. But no, don't forget, I'm only going to use real historical facts, not inventions. But when this show is over, ask yourself the following question. A sequel of chance, what's it become? Fact 1. Fire in the Coal Bay and the White Star Line still let the Titanic go on her maiden voyage. Fact 2. There were no binoculars on board the Titanic to be able to see the obstacles in advance in the crow's nest. Fact 3. The officers kept a speed of 22 knots despite numerous iceberg warnings. Fact 4. The radio stopped working, so the Titanic only had the telegraph to communicate with other ships. Fact 5. Decided to remove lifeboats before departure to clear view for passengers. Fact 6. The iceberg hit on the starboard side, the same side where there had been the fire in the hold. If you look closely at the wreck of the Titanic, on the starboard side there is a huge hole which, according to the professionals of the Titanic Society, James Cameron as well as several lovers of the classic repetitive theory, would be due to the impact in the bottom of the ocean, but here, the fire in the hold was to starboard, the impact with the iceberg was to starboard and this hole. 3. Random on the same side. Now why didn't JP Morgan agree to come on board at the very last minute? The answer, the official version? Okay, let's put it in the sequel to The Oddities, it's more comfortable for the ears of those who believe in chance. As for me, I don't believe it. And don't forget a small detail. The rivets of the Titanic were not all steel, but to finish the ship as quickly as possible, they replaced the steel rivets with iron rivets. On a certain part of the ship. But which one? I will let you guess. But I'll give you a hint, it's to starboard. I still want one thing to be clear, I'm not part of any conspiracy theory, I'm a new theorist, I'm an enthusiast, and I see this story with a detective's eye that would not have not been aware of the famous official version. This Titanic story will die if we don't open the door as a possible new theory, because this Titanic story will only be repetitive and will only be a movie for the new generation. Let's open up so that this story can be of interest to everyone. Take 2 minutes to think about it, my friends. If we forget this is the Titanic and we take another ship, and I'll tell you, there's a ship that has a fire in its hold a few days before its voyage inaugural, and that I will tell you the facts of a disaster that happened and in the following way. The ship had a fire on the starboard side at the level of the hold between boilers 5 and 6. The fire and it was turned off that during the maiden voyage, and they didn't have the binoculars for the crow's nest. That's not all. They ignored the iceberg warnings and went down at 22 knots in an iceberg field. Then the radio stopped working and wait. They hit an iceberg exactly where there had been the fire, where the metal had been weakened by the fire, and in the end there were on this ship many important people and enemies of a certain bank who the White Star Line was doing business with. What would you think if I told you, it's all just coincidence? Now you see what I believe. And what do you believe? Write me in the comments your theories, because at the Black Star Line my mandate is to leave the debate open. The goal is not to be right or wrong. The goal is to keep the history of the RMS alive. Titanic and closing no doors has no theory. Thank you for listening and sharing this video as much as possible, to renew and give a second win to this historical epic.